the pelvic girdle. What we're talking about now, what we're talking about now is just, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about from here on down, from the pelvic structure all the way down to your feet. So the hip bone, which is called the coxal bone, it's got like 3 names. Coxal bone, the femur, which is the biggest bone in the body. It's the biggest and strongest bone in the body. The tibia, which is the, your shin bone. The non-weight-bearing bone of the lower leg, which is the fibula, which is quite a small bone. And then the tarsal bones, which are your ankle bones, which are sort of, the carpal bones only of your feet. Metatarsals and phalanges. So that's what we're going to cover, and we've done this percent. All right, so the os coxae, the hip bone, it consists of 3 fused bones: the ilium, the ischium, and the pubis. I got to go get me a hip bone here in just a second, but I'll do it in a minute. Ilium, ischium, and pubis. And there's a big round hole in it called the acetabulum. Because you'll see, I'm sure many of you have done this already, because the head of this thing, this is the femur, fits into this big hole called the acetabulum to form the hip joint. Okay? So, the other number 2, you know what, let me get it. Let me get a hip joint, or a coxal bone here. Check this, we got more coxal bones, I'll bring them out tonight, but check this one out. This is a real one. I'm just going to grab a plastic one here. But this is a real one. And, I mean, I have no idea why that hole's in there. It's not in there because it used to be attached to a skeleton and it was a hole that was drilled. This is just a very, it's probably a female, just half of the coxal bone, but you can see how thin this surface of the ilium, this is the ilium up here, how thin this is and how fragile it can be. Now, and could have resulted from bone loss during life. Now, as you know, oftentimes you hear this as an injury in elderly people. An older person falls and breaks their hip. Well, really, they're not breaking this. What usually is occurring is a break near the head of the femur, because the older people and bone loss, the bones can become quite fragile. And but this is a pretty beefy structure. So, and this is plastic, by the way. So, if it weighed this much in humans, we'd be in for trouble. Now, okay, number 2 of the spots where the axial and appendicular skeleton come together. The first was up here at the clavicular end, or the sternal end of the clavicle, right up here. The other one, and I said you know this, but you don't know you did because you studied it last night. Remember on the sacrum, there's that ear-shaped surface called the auricular surface. The auricular surface of the sacrum articulates with another surface here on the coxal bone, forms a joint called the sacroiliac joint. And that's the other place where the axial skeleton, the sacrum of course being part of our spine, and the appendicular skeleton, the coxal bone, come together. So only 2 places, up here, down here. Those are the 2 places where the axial and appendicular come together. All right, so the ilium, the ischium, and the pubis, and there's a bunch of things on here that you'll be learning tonight. This big hole, right here, on both sides, this big hole here, is the acetabulum, because, as I just said, this is a left, fits in here, like that, okay? And forms the hip joint. All right, well, let's get rid of this femur for a second and go into the coxal bones. All right, well, okay, what's some stuff here? Well, let's just start at the beginning. On this, the coxal bone, and you can feel this on yourself, it's right here, this crest right here, here and here, here and here, and it's called the iliac crest. Gee, what a name, huh? Because this top bone is the ilium. So this crest is the iliac crest. It says right up here. Now, depending on individuals, as you move right along the top of the iliac crest towards the anterior of the body or towards the ventral surface of the body, you come around the corner and there's a spine. Yep, right there. Okay? Right there on This spine is called, where'd you go? Right here. So you come around this direction, and there's a spine. It's called the anterior superior iliac spine. You feel one yourself. Pretty simple. All right? And you go down a little notch here, which we don't do anything with. And then about as far down as you can feel is another spine, which is the anterior inferior iliac spine. So those are just features you can feel on one bone of the hip. This one, posterior spine, yeah, I guess it kind of depends on the person. I really can't feel it on me, but that's on the back side. Let's continue on the back side. So we got the crest, anterior and superior and anterior inferior. We go back this way, we have the posterior, and then there's a big notch called the greater sciatic notch. I wonder what runs through the greater sciatic notch. The sciatic muscle. No, it was only last week that you learned about the sciatic nerve.